Right, so the date is set for Israel's Day in the Dock at the International Court of Justice. It'll be next Thursday and Friday, the 11th and 12th of January. The ICJ has announced that South Africa's case of war crimes against Israel will be held in public hearings as well. So we'll all get to hear the crimes. It won't be held behind closed doors. We will be able to see and hear firsthand exactly what the charges are as laid out by South Africa's legal team and the defence presented by Israel in return. Though, if a recent interview with the UK ambassador to Israel, Tzipi Hotovely, is any indicator of what kind of a defence that might be on Israel's part, they are so screwed. Though in the opinion of the only lawyer to successfully argue the case for genocide at the ICJ, Israel are very much stuffed anyway, no matter what she might have to say, as are all those who have aided and abetted them, no less. This might not just end with Israel being on trial at the end of the day. Right, so South Africa requested that the International Court of Justice, the World Court as it is colloquially often referred to, expedite the matters pertaining to their 86-page case against Israel, accusing them of genocide. And they very much seem to have agreed, with the court case kicking off next Thursday. South Africa's submission to the ICJ is as horrific as it is compelling. Some of what it covers includes examples like one Palestinian dying in Gaza every 4 minutes. 4 health workers a day are being killed in Gaza. Multi-generational families have been wiped out in their entireties. Children talking of rather being dead than living through what they are being forced to. Mass expulsions and forced migration. Being killed whilst being evacuated. Being killed despite going to so-called safe zones on the orders of the IDF. Deprivation of access to food and water and medication. Disease is rife as a consequence of Israeli atrocity in Gaza. There's deprivation of shelter, of hygiene, of sanitation, of clothing. There's a destruction of Palestinian life across the board, from the destruction of churches to mosques, schools, hospitals. There's even been recordings of measures being taken to prevent Palestinian births, not to mention all the documented cases of Israelis speaking out with genocidal intent. And that last term segues once more into mainstream media, once again platforming the genocidal mania that is the words of the Israeli ambassador to the UK, Tzipi Hotovely, who should have been put on a plane back to Tel Aviv weeks ago. That she remains on British shores, I find an affront, and that's reinforced with the wickedness she's still spouting, but which, if this is anything like what Israel are planning on saying by way of a defence at the ICJ, then they're going to be in for a rude shock when all of a sudden they get a court order slapped on them ordering them to cease fire immediately and get out of Gaza. What will they say then? Yes, we signed up to that genocide convention of yours, but you aren't supposed to use it against us. Well, look out, sunshines. It's coming for you. Here's what Hotovely has said that shows how damned Israel are, in my opinion. She said, "One of the things we exposed to the world after getting into the areas in Gaza, where we tried to find all those tunnels and underground metro city that Hamas has built, thanks to this great support of Iran, Qatar and international community generosity, everything turned to become this horrible terror city. One of the things we realised is every school, every mosque, every second house has an access to tunnels and, of course, ammunition." At that point, the host of the LBC show she was on, Ian Dale, stopped her and he said, "That's an argument for destroying the whole of Gaza, every single building in it." To which she casually replied, "So do you have another solution how to destroy the underground tunnel cities? That this is the place the terrorists hide, where they have all their ammunition?" So they aren't even denying anymore that their plan is literally to raze Gaza to the ground from north to south then. The people in it leave or die, I presume. Ethnic cleansing under the guise of destroying apparent whole underground terror cities now, people. Well, we didn't hear about them before, did we? I thought all this was supposed to be about Israel defending itself after October 7th. Seriously, use that defence in the Hague. Tell them all about your underground Bond villain-style lairs in Gaza. For one, the media need to stop platforming this woman who is advocating ethnic cleansing, and for two, put her on a plane home. She's an extremist, gloating about genocide that our media keep mainstreaming. But Israel is getting its day in court, of course, thanks to South Africa. And not only is it a public hearing, but submissions have been requested by the ICJ too in support of either party. South Africa's case has been bolstered with submissions from the likes of the United Arab Emirates, Oman and Qatar, with other countries including Turkey, Netanyahu's spat with Erdogan clearly still grating, also supporting South Africa. But the opinion of the only lawyer to have successfully won anything under the terms of the Genocide Convention, a chap called Francis Boyle, no, not the comedian, the lawyer who took Yugoslavia to court for crimes of genocide against Bosnia-Herzegovina during the Balkans War, in fact, and got 2 court orders from the ICJ in that time to make Yugoslavia cease and desist. Frankly, therefore, there's no better legal authority to pass comment on this court case right now in the lead up to it. And he told the Democracy Now! American internet news outlet that, based on my careful review of all the documents so far submitted by the Republic of South Africa, I believe South Africa will win an order against Israel to cease and desist committing all acts of genocide against the Palestinians, and then we will have an official determination by the International Court of Justice themselves, the highest legal authority in the United Nations system, that genocide is going on. And under Article 1 of the Genocide Convention, all contracting parties of 153 states will then be obliged to prevent the genocide by Israel against the Palestinians. And secondly, when the World Court gives this cease and desist order against Israel, the Biden administration will stand condemned under Article 3, Paragraph E of the Genocide Convention that criminalizes complicity in genocide. And clearly we know the Biden administration has been aiding and abetting Israeli genocide against the Palestinians here for quite some time. So he's certain Israel are going to be ruled against. And frankly, what a travesty it would be, given the sheer scale of death and destruction, the horrendous footage witnessed, if that doesn't turn out to be the case. We've only ever seen a cease and desist order like this handed out once before. We've never seen anything else ever handed out under the Genocide Convention. So what happens if Israel don't obey such an order? Will Genocide Joe and his administration be hauled before the ICJ as well as a consequence of this? What about others just as complicit? The EU has supported Israel. The UK has been supplying arms to them as well. There are a lot of potential ramifications coming down the way from a decision that the ICJ could make within a week following next Thursday and Friday's hearings. And it's all uncharted territory. It'll all be precedent-setting stuff. So I am looking forward to next week with a sense of curiosity and interest. I'm looking forward to a cease and desist order being placed on Israel, most of all over their actions in Gaza, and being made to stop, and seeing where things go then. Because honestly, I really hope this brings an end to the killings, even if it won't end the ongoing investigation and litigation. And the reputational damage to Israel alone, if this ruling is made, will be immense. If they ignore it, though, well, we know Netanyahu's career right now hinges on this continuing. But if they ignore it, then what happens next? Their reputation will already be in tatters by that point. Would they honestly be prepared to make things even worse for themselves? Where do things go from there, in which case? The UN, of which the ICJ is the final legal arbiter, exists to prevent things progressing and expanding to the point we witness another world war. It strikes me that this is finally being tested. And if it fails, then it ends up being a question of what the point of them then is. And whilst we ponder that question, to which nobody right now has an answer, you should watch this video here, which dives into the 86-page submission by South Africa. See what some of what they're bringing to the courtroom is. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.